Hi everyone and welcome back to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy and I'm going to show you how to make these Aran weight. That's a UK term, and in the US they are a 4-weight fingerless gloves. And for this tutorial I'm using the same stitch as my last two, the Crochet Rock stitch. It's part of a trilogy, 1 stitch, 3 different types of glove. In the first ones I made half wristers. In the second one, I made shaped Poundland fingerless gloves, which I have one here that I still haven't finished off completely. So that was the second one, and this one is the third one. Now this particular one I made first, and I made it with Premier Muir Woods Yarn, which Glenda from Creative Grandma sent me in a yarn swap that we did. And I really love this yarn. It's one of my favourites. But this is quite a generous pattern, this one. It will make a fairly large, say a medium to large glove. So I figured I would make one that was a little bit smaller. And this is made with Stylecraft Aran, again a 4-weight yarn. I think though it's a little thinner than the Muir Woods. So I'm going to show you how to make these and tell you how you can make it medium to large, or a kind of a medium, small to medium size really. They won't be quite as small as the Poundland ones, which were made with DK weight. And this is done with the Crochet Rock stitch that I've shown you before. Now I did make them, the first ones I made were these, and these were made with King Cole Aran yarn, again a 4-weight, and it had a little fleck going through it. I like the way it sort of works up though. You can this rib looks really kind of neat in this yarn. But I did this with doing the cluster, the Crochet Rocks cluster, and then the subsequent rows I did a single crochet in the US or a double crochet in the UK. So it was alternate rows, and that's how it turned out. But I think I prefer it like this, but you can do either. So I'm going to show you then how to do the other one of these. So and I will let you know how to adjust it to the larger size. So I'm going to use, as I said, this Stylecraft Aran yarn, and a pair of scissors, a darning needle, and a size 5mm crochet hook. Right, so let's get some yarn. Now I just need to find the end. It's usually tucked inside somewhere. No, it doesn't want to come out. That's strange. I think that might be found it now. That's good. So I just pull some yarn out. Now, as with the other gloves that I've made, I'm going to do the beginning rows will be, just to zoom in a little bit, it's going to be a foundation treble crochet or a foundation double crochet in the US. And I want that because I need it to be elastic. And if I just did a row of chain, then that wouldn't be elastic at all. It'd have no elasticity, and you need that to pull it on over your hand so it's nice and stretchy. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. Sorry, I've got one of my hairs is molting. I'm going to show you how to do that now, and also it will be front post treble crochet or front post double crochet in US terms. So, okay, get my end, and we start by making a slip knot, and you can do that however you please. Sorry, I need to zoom out again now, don't I? We'll start again. Leave a nice long tail, because there will be a little part to join when you have finished, and it's rather than just attach yarn, it's easier just to have that long tail to do the job. So we're going to make 2 chains. That's yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. So we're going to do I'll zoom just a little so that you can see this. We're going to do a foundation treble crochet or foundation double. So you yarn over and you go into this the first chain. You've got 2 on the hook. This one doesn't count, that's the one closest, and this is the first one. So we yarn over and we go into that first one, and you want to go in to have go into 2 loops, because that is quite important. You need to go into the 2 loops. So you've only got 1 at the bottom, and up there you have the 2 loops. So you yarn over and pull through. So you've got 3 loops on your hook. Now you need to go into the 2 loops, because if you don't, then this edge will have some pretty loopy, baggy, ugly stitches. So we need it to be 2 loops, and I don't think it kind of went all the way through. So I'm going to do that one again. So I'm going to go into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 3 on our hook. So to do the foundation treble crochet, foundation double, you yarn over, easier said than done, and pull through just 1. So you've made a chain. Now I hold on to that and I yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So complete my my stitch. Yarn over. Now that chain that you've just created, we're going to go into that stitch and we're going to go through 2 loops and pull up our loop. So we've got 3 on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 1 to make the chain. So just hold on to that so you know where it is. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you're making a chain and then you're making your stitch into that chain as we go. So I'll show you once more. Yarn over into the chain that you've just created. Make sure that you go through the 2 loops. You see that? Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1 to make the chain. I just secure it with my finger. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that then we've got our row of chains that are being made as we go, and our treble crochet, which of course is a UK term. It's a double crochet in the US. So just keep going, and we need to make for this size 21 of our foundation treble crochets. If we're going to make the larger size, you'll want 25. But this one, we just want 21. And I didn't go through 2 loops cleanly there. That's better. So I'm just going to carry on. Sorry, my voice is going. Just going to carry on making my chain as I go. And, you know, make sure each time that you do go through those 2 loops. And just make your chain and then finish your stitch. So I'm going to pop this video on hold and I'm going to make 21. If you need to rewind it and just watch that again, then by all means do. But I'm going to pause it now and I will see you when I've made 21. Right, so I've made 21, and what I do now is I bring the first one round, keeping this tail at the bottom, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my first 2 chain to make a ring. And this is the long tail that you need to just join that part together at the end. So I'm going to chain 1, but instead of chaining 2 to the height or chaining 3 to if you've got a long treble crochet, we're not going to do that. We're going to now do the front post stitch. So we yarn over and we go through the stitch around it, so we've got all of the stitch on our hook. So we yarn over and pull it through, so we've gone through the stitch, and then we yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to do that again to the next one. So we're going to go in that gap between the stitches, around it and back through the other, where the other gap is, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that we're now just, what we're doing is we're catching these stitches with our stitch, and That's the front post treble crochet or front post double crochet in US terms. So subsequent rows, it does get a little easier to see it. So we're going round the back. It's called a front post stitch, but we are going around the back of the stitch if you like. So we're going through this stitch and making our treble crochet. I find it easier to hold it this way, and I can use my fingers to manipulate it and show me exactly where it is. It does get easier as you get further in. So that's the, oops, didn't get my line round the hook. So yarn around the hook, around the stitch, pull up a loop. So I'm going to put this video on pause, and I'm going to continue doing those front post stitches until I get right back to here. Right, so I'm almost back at the start. I've got this one to do. That one. And now I'm at the gap. But I need to join this gap, so I'm going to go through that two turning chain that the two initial chain that we did. I'm going to go through that as well, and it helps to pull it together. So don't worry, it will look odd at first. So now, instead of working in rows, we're just going to work in the round in like a spiral. So if I turn it around the side, it helps me see where I need to go through. See how I can just sort of go through it that way. If it helps you just to keep going front and back, that's fine, but I like to just keep going. So we're going to just go round and just keep going in a spiral, if you like. No slip stitches, no turning chains or anything, just going in each stitch round and round. Sorry if I went off camera there, just trying to see what I'm doing, the camera in the way. So yeah, that's all we're going to be doing. So I'm going to pop this on hold again, and I'm going to meet you when I get round to this side. Right, so I'm back at the start again, and I just wanted to show you that I know it kind of looks a little uneven at the moment, but it will work itself out. So you just keep going, get that tail out of the way, just keep going round, exactly the same as before, straight past that join, and just keep going. Now we need to keep going until our cuff is the right size, and the first one that you make, you can judge that just by putting it on your wrist and making sure it's the right length, just how you like it. Some people like a longer cuff than others, so you just pop it on, and when you think it's the right length, then you're done. So a way of checking, when you've done that first glove, you need to then match it to the second one. So you just need to keep going for the same amount of rows. And if you've lost count in any way, if you turn the glove inside out, you can see that the front post stitch does leave a ridge. It's like a little trench, see that? So each one leaves a ring, so you can count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 rows has made this cuff. So as long as you can count that there are 7 rings and it looks the same, then job's a good one. But for the first one, you just need to pop it on over your wrist, and don't worry if it does pull it apart a little bit. It does spring back, as you can see. It does spring back. So I'm going to pause the video now, and I'm going to get on, and once I've done the same amount, 7 rows, I will catch up with you and show you what to do next. Okay, so I've caught up, I've made the same amount, So I'm going to show you what we do next. Now, because you went around the 2 chain, we started off, this particular glove had 21, so we've now got 22 stitches. And if we were making this one, we had 25, so going around those 2 chain meant we had 26. So, but if you have lost one or gained one somewhere along the line, it's not going to be a disaster as long as it fits you. So we are going to sort of end off by doing a slip stitch into the next stitch. So I'll just show you, sorry. We've finished on this one, the one that's this side of the join, and we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the other side. And then we just give this a little tug so it straightens out, and you can see that that has evened up nicely. So this, just need to pull some yarn out because I've, that's it. I noticed it was running a little tight. So to do this next part, this is the Crochet Rock stitch that I was telling you about. If you haven't seen the other tutorials already, I'll show you how to do it now. But it's a little cluster, so it naturally forms a wider stitch, and so we don't need to increase anymore. It just naturally has that shape. So to do that, we've done our chain to so I didn't do my chain there, so we're going to do 1 chain just to get up to that height. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go into that same stitch that we have slip stitched into. Yarn over and pull up a loop. So we've got 3 on our hook. Just zoom in a smidge. So we've got 3 on our hook there. So we're going to yarn over and pull through 2. And then we're going to go back into that same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we've got back to 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. We're going to do that in every stitch, so it's yarn over into the next one and pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2, back into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we've got 3 again, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that's the cluster. So it's yarn over into the stitch, yarn over and up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, back in, pull up a loop, yarn over, through all 3. And we're just going to do that in every stitch all the way around until we get back to the start. So I'm going to pop this on hold, and I will meet you again here and show you what to do next. Right, so I'm almost back. I've got 1 more stitch to do there, and then I'm at my join. And we're not going to go round and round anymore. We are going to slip stitch into the first stitch. Excuse me, keep going to be high pitched. So slip stitch in to complete that round. Do 1 chain, and we're going to repeat that all over again. So we're going to enter the same stitch. And if you want to, every now and then, just count them to make sure that you've got the correct amount. So with this particular glove, I should keep to 22, and the other one I should keep to 26. But as I said, as long as if you've got 1 extra or 1 less, it's not going to be too much of a problem. It's if you lose a few on the way, that's when there may be a problem. So just keep going in these rounds, but where you get to the join, you slip stitch into the first stitch and do 1 chain and go on. And for the first glove, I'm just going to zoom out again now. All you do is pop it onto your hand. So let's get this little tail out of the way. You just pop it on, and then you can judge when you have the right height for the thumb. But when you have already made one, then all you have to do is count the rows. So for me, This row here is where I made my thumb. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 rows of the stitch, and then I'll show you how to do the thumb. So continue working in those rows and slip stitching, as I said, when you get to here, doing the one chain and another row, and once you've done 8, I will pick up the video again and show you what to do next. Okay, so here I am with my 8 rows, and I pop it on my hand. There we go. So I know that I'm at my thumb level. So if you watch the tutorial with the glitz yarn, you'll know I did it like this, just pinched it where I needed it. And if you watched the Poundland one, you'll know I did so many chain and skipped so many stitches and shaped a thumb. But this one, I just did that pinch method again. So that's what you do for the first one. You would just know that it's this stitch, and if you wriggle your hand out of it, then you can count. But I know from this one it was 5. So all I needed to do was make sure I'm getting a tangle with my big end, that I can pinch off 5. So I do that by like this. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my 5 stitches, and I just join them with a slip stitch. And don't worry if that looked a little messy, it won't. And when you come to do the thumb, you can pick up 6 stitches. You can pick up 5 around the outside and 1 in between. So now what we're going to just carry on, but working in this part only. And then we'll come back and do the thumb. And what I've done with this one is I just did 1 row around the thumb, and I did another 4 rows. And what I did here as well, because I wanted it to taper on the last couple of rows, or you can just put it on and see how much shaping you need. So if I put this one on, I just every now and then I put it on just to make sure. So I would decrease, and I think it was just the last 2 rows on this one that I decreased. I'm absolutely sure of it. But if you feel that this is just too wide once you've done your first row, then you start to decrease, and so it will go in nicely and it'll fit your hand. So now we're just going to go round and make our stitch in each stitch along around here, but ignoring that thumb area. And when we get to this stitch, we will join with a slip stitch, and then we'll start to assess how wide our palm portion is, to see if we need to decrease or not, because it's all about the fitting for me. So many fingerless gloves I've made in the past from other tutorials that I've had, they just go up straight, and that just makes them baggy after a while, and so I stopped wearing them because I don't like them like that. I like them to fit a little well, and everybody's hands, they go in, so I like them to go in. But just keep going until we get back to the join. And it's not very many stitches, so I won't pause it this time. I need to pull some more yarn. Actually, it was just going underneath me, so it's fine. I always find I knock the camera because I have to sit so close to it. Almost there. Now I'm doing into this one. It's in between the thumb. Find our first stitch and slip stitch into it. Sorry, had to go off camera to get into that stitch. So pull up a lovely big loop so it doesn't undo and pop it on. It's the best way. And then you can see if you need to decrease, that was fine. So I'm going to pop this now onto pause, and I'm going to continue for, see, there's our thumb row. So it's altogether about, I think it's 3 rows. So I'm going to decrease 1 at the next 2, at the start of the next 2. So I'll show you how we do that, how we decrease. Excuse me, I need a drink. Just gonna. That's better. So what we do, how we decrease is we, sorry, we don't do that at all. We go in and we pull up a loop. Did I do my chain? No, I didn't. That's why it didn't look right. Pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop. So we now have 3 on the hook. Just do the cluster as usual, but you've joined those 2 stitches together. I'll show you again, although I don't want to decrease this one, I'll undo it. You go into the stitch, pull up a loop, into the stitch next to it, pull up a loop. So you've got 3, go through 2, go back in, 3, go through 3. So that's how I've been doing the decreases. So I'll undo that one, I don't need that. So I'm going to pop this on hold, and I will pick up with you again once I've done 2 rows and I've decreased 1 at the beginning of each row. Right, so I've done those 3 rows and I've just counted, and it is 4. So as you can see, this one's slightly longer, so I've got 1 more row. Take them off. 1 more row to do, and I don't need to do any more decreasing. That one's perfect width. So as I was saying before, when I pinched it off on the first one, I knew it was 5 stitches, so you just count 5 go into the 6th, and it was exactly the same for this one. But obviously when you put it on and you pinch in between where it is, you'll kind of know how many you need for your thumb. But 5 was fine for me, and that makes 6 stitches around when you pick up 1 in between. So you just judge it. Judge it for yourself once your glove is on your wrist, on your finger, and what should I say? Get it right in the end. So just go with the last row. I'm not going to do any decreasing on this row, and just keep going with my stitches. Oh, it's starting to squeak. Do love it when that happens. So I'm going to pause this video, meet you back at the start. I'm going to wipe my hook so that it stops squeaking. Okay, so I'm on my last stitch for the top of the glove, for the palm part, and so what I'm going to do now is just slip stitch into that first stitch and leave a nice long tail for sewing in, and just end off. And how I end off, I always do my stitch, pull it right down and through, cinch it down nicely. So now we need to pick up the stitches around the thumb, which can be a little tricky, because if you look, these stitches look quite big, and that's because they get a little stretched there. So I'm going to pick it up in between where it meets the body of the glove. I'm going to leave a nice long tail, because I do like a nice long tail, and I'm going to pull it through. My first chain, I'm going to go through my tail as well as my yarn. That just helps secure it. It does make a bit of a bulky join, but it will get hidden, it doesn't matter. So now I'm going to go and do a stitch in that same stitch, which will be difficult. because it's a small one. It's a bit tight. This big fat hook doesn't want to get through. Through 2, back in, pull up a loop. We're going through more because of that extra bit of tail, but it doesn't matter. So now we just go in each of those stitches around. So there should be 6 altogether, so that's 1, and we're going to go into the next one. It does look rather elongated, this stitch. I hope that will be okay. You can always tidy it up with the tail if they look a little bit too big. So just go in, I'm going over my tail as well. Losing track, so that's there. Can be a little hard to see. That's a bit of a baggy here. Pull that tight. Pull it tighter, that's it. And just go in each one and do the stitch. Every one around. Now if you prefer, you can do a couple of rows if you like it longer over your thumb. I think on these ones I did do a couple of rows. So if I put that on, you can see it comes up my thumb. And I think I did decrease here because it's quite wider at the actual thumb part. And on this one, I've just done the 1 row. But it's up to you. Whatever looks nicest, feels better. It's a bit tricky when you're doing these, that you're going to end up going through not just the one stitch, but the one on the other side, which we don't want to do. So although it's a bit difficult to hold it, try your best not to do that. So I think we're all the way around. That's no more stitches. I'm going to tuck that tail in there because it's getting in the way a little bit. So, oh, and it's come out again. It's a bit of a nuisance. So where's my first stitch? There it is. Heavens. I'm just going to go count back and pull that yarn tail in because it makes it hard to see anything. Oop, doesn't want to go in, does it? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's it, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's my 6th stitch. I'm going to slip stitch into there, and then I'm going to just try it on. And it's really, because it's a little tight around the thumb, it's a little hard to see. So I'm going to go into there as a slip stitch, pull my yarn out so it doesn't come undone, and pop it on. And then I can see if I need to decrease at all. Oh, there you are, that's fine. So it goes around the thumb quite nicely. If I pop the other one on. So did I do 2 rows there? I think it's just did 1, but it comes further up my thumb. But you can do more than 1 row if you'd rather. Just that's definitely just 1 row. That's unusual, isn't it? Maybe it's because I pulled it down a bit further. But if you wanted to carry on, do another row, by all means do. And likewise along here if you wanted them to come up higher. But I like a little bit of this thumb to show. So that's it, basically. Going to end off and sew in the tails. I'll put that in there, pull it tight. Leave a nice long tail. And just cinch that down. Oops, sorry. Right, so what I now do is I've got to close this. So with my darning needle, I'm going to just thread that up. And with the wrong side facing, I just find the top of my, it's a bit difficult to see with that there, isn't it? It's dark colour. So that's the actual top of my stitch there. So I'm going to go in there and back through here. So just to sew that nice and closed. And I'm going to do that down the stitch as well. You see my finger poking through there. So just catch that. And I'm going to do one more here, just to catch that. So that hole is now closed, and I'm going to finish it by making a loop, and while it's still got a little loop, go through it, pull it tight, and that knots it. So now I'm just going to lose my tail in this ridge by going through the ridge. Didn't come through, no. And then I like to go back on myself a few times. Didn't go through it, no. Just so that it doesn't come out. Very good. And cut it off. And now I'm going to do the same and sew these ends in and those ones around the thumb. What I do normally is I'll turn it inside out to sew those in, and then just using my darn needle do the same, go through a couple of times back and forth. And if this hole here does look a little bit too big, I'll just catch that with my darning needle, with my wool, and just close it. So that didn't happen on the other one, probably because I didn't have to do it on camera, so I didn't have to pull it quite so tight and make it a bit of an odd shape. But that's the other fingerless gloves. So with this one, the larger size, I just did a couple of rows around the thumb, and I just stopped when it was big enough. Well, these ones are a little bit baggier, but I do love them. That's it, put it on properly. Yeah, I quite like these. I love this wool, is so nice. Got a little bit more left over. I managed to, because Glenda sent me 2 skeins, and I managed to buy one on eBay. So I had 3 skeins altogether, so I'm possibly going to make a scarf to match this. And then I'll have either that or a hat, but I don't really wear hats that much, but I might make a scarf. So that's it. Thank you for watching. And if you haven't already, pop your finger on the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be informed when there are new videos, new tutorials, live chats, and some giveaways. I've got a couple going on at the moment. So whenever you're watching this, do check it out, because there possibly is some subscriber giveaways as well. So thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.